Are you a leader, a supervisor, a manager of a small team in a small business, managing customer service, managing sales, or you're doing support teams? So I think this video is going to be valuable because we're going to talk about how to be a leader day to day with your team in this new world of online, of Zoom meetings, of teams where they are at home and some are at the office. We're going to talk about the day to day, how to manage your goals, your vision. We'll take a look at how you are personally as a leader. So we'll do some tests, go through some research, talk about some tools so that you can be an awesome leader creating great results every day. All right, stay tuned. Intro. Welcome back. Hi, this is Khalif. Yes, from Yes Hello. I'm the founder and CEO. At Yes Hello, we help small businesses like yours to streamline your customer service using modern tools, using strategies so that you can create better results, close more sales, have more revenue. Right? So in this video, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about how to be a leader online today with the tools you have at hand. What are the tools out there that can help you, and day-to-day strategies so that you can be the best of yourself, so that people want to follow you and you can create results through other people. All right. So let me ask you this. Are you or do you have a colleague who is a little bit frustrated, right? Maybe their supervisor is they believe is not as visionary. Maybe they're not sure what to do next. So they're a little bit, unsure whether this leader is doing the right thing. Therefore, creating drag, and people are more difficult to want to follow what they're saying, right? Do you see that around, or are you going through this yourself? That's number one. Number two, are you also like experiencing this organization and that certain groups in your team is doing one thing, the other group is doing another thing, so people are not aligned, and an unaligned team becomes chaotic and you don't get to the end results fast, right? Or are your teams feeling a little bit demotivated? Are they not as urgent as you want them to be? All this can actually be solved with a few things, right? So I'm going to talk to you about what we want and maybe some of the problems that you are unaware of that you or your team member are doing right now. So if that's not what we want, if that's the frustrations, right? So what do we want from, if you're the leader, what do you want from ourselves? If you are overseeing other supervisors and leaders, what do you want them to do to lead your team? So we want them to, number one, of course, be growing as a leader. We don't want them to be stagnant, because a stagnant leader creates stagnant followers, right? So we want them to grow. We want them to truly inspire and motivate and manage. Be an exceptional leader of people, right? Be confident, be warm, and be competent. I say competent twice, right? Why? Because there's this research. There's this research that it says there's two main characteristics that people look at in general before they follow a leader, right? Number one is warmth. Number two is competence. So I'll link the research somewhere over here or in the comments. But basically, why warmth and why competence? Warmth is because they want to see whether the intention of this leader, you perhaps, are their intentions aligned with mine, and do they have good intentions for me? That's number one, right? Before anything else, they want to see whether they mean me harm, or do they want the best for me. Number 2 is competence. Competence is, yes, if I believe that this person has good intentions towards me, can they do anything about that intention? Because, you know, if you have good intentions and you don't have the competence, you don't have the skills and the know-how to do anything, then people won't follow either way, right? So number 1 is warmth, lead with warmth. Number 2, so the research says that to have the competence, the skills, the know-how to get the person that you want to lead from A to B. Okay, so that's the thing that we want. That's the thing that ideally we want to see in a manager and a supervisor. So looking at what we want, what are some of the mistakes that some of the leaders are doing? So it's not that they are bad people, it's just that maybe lack of experience, lack of training, and you know, even myself today, we're in the company, we're still learning. I'm still learning. So and in an article that I read, there are 4 biggest mistakes that a lot of leaders and supervisors do. Okay, so number 1 is decision monopoly. Decision monopoly is a big mistake, is because number 1, it shows that it gives out the message that you as the team are not good enough to make any decisions. That I am the only one who knows enough to make the decisions. That creates this culture of any decisions then the leader makes. In the beginning, it's okay. After a while, the leader becomes the bottleneck, and you create followers instead of other leaders, right? So the intention is we want them to make the decisions so that us at the supervisor manager level can make the manager level decisions. So if you have decision monopoly, and a lot of business small business leaders do this because they're afraid of taking risks, they create this bottleneck after many months, and they realize, why am I making all the decisions, right? So I know in the beginning it's tough, but decision monopoly is challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 is the inability to build trust, delegate roles, promote good communication, and provide strong capability to influence. That's a long one. What does it mean? We're going to build trust and delegate roles. So this is connected with the number 1, decision monopoly. Maybe you don't trust or whatever, right? But now you want to build trust among each other. They trust you and you want to trust them. So how to build this trust is, if you want trust, you have to give trust. So that's number 1. And then once you trust, is to delegate the roles. There are effective ways to delegate roles. So maybe you want to view and watch our other video about team collaboration. There's some delegation worksheets inside there. So you want to learn how to delegate. And then you want to promote good communication. You want to have a communication cadence. That means a cadence is like a rhythm, right? So if you have a rhythm, either daily, weekly, whatever it is, then people can trust when they are allowed to say stuff. Communication can go back and forth. It becomes clear, and communication breakdowns happen less. Okay, so inability to create trust, delegate, and having this clear communication is mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is narcissism. Narcissism is a big one because a lot of people don't see that they are being, that they are acting out their narcissistic behavior, right? They're not necessarily bad people. It's just sometimes in certain situations, they focus in instead of out. So this is just practicing the mind, the focus of focusing out, giving credit where credit is due, and then even though that you feel as a leader that you've done all this, is to give credit to the team members, because no matter what happens, everybody knows that if the department is well, is the leader's responsibility, right? So mistake number 3 is narcissism. Mistake number 4 is alienation, or working and doing things to impress the higher ups. So this starts with the leader himself, right? So if you are the the manager, supervisor level, you have people under you, and you have people above you, right? So if you want your team below to do work to create value for the clients or to achieve the goals, whatever those goals are, instead of to impress the bosses, right? This normally happens in bigger organizations because, you know, in a big organizations, people get paid a lot of money and it's very hard to get fired. And suddenly the focus becomes, let's not get fired. As opposed to if you're in a startup, the focus becomes, let's not have the company get bankrupt. So let's focus on creating value and making the customers happy, right? So what is the focus? So the focus should not be to impress the bosses, right? Impress the higher ups, but we want to create the value to achieve our goals, if you guys get what I mean, right? So these are the 4 mistakes. So let me just say it like this, right? Imagine if you are doing bungee jumping. So there was one time when I was traveling to, where was it? Kopangan? Yes, Kopangan, alone, backpacking. And when I was there, the first thing I wanted to do was to do bungee jumping. So I went up there. There was a choice. Either I wanted to do bungee jump alone. It wasn't my first time, right? Or I wanted to do it with somebody else, right? So it's called a tandem jump too. And you can see this in bungee jumps. You can see this in skydiving. So a tandem is, you instead of doing it on your own because you have no skill, right? Skydiving especially, because otherwise you have to learn how to do this, learn how to do that. It takes a long time to get started before you can bungee jump or to skydive, right? So to make it fast so that you can straight away jump, let's say skydiving, they connect you to the belly of a pro, and then they jump, and the person who is new gets to experience the skydive while having a pro keep an eye on them, do the right things and all those, right? So in business and in your team is similar. There are team members who are doing things for the first time. Most of the people are afraid to make mistakes, afraid of getting fired. So for a new team member to want to risk his life, professional life, with the leader, first you want to see whether you like this person that you're going to tandem with, right? And do you believe that when they jump, that they know how to pull the parachute, they know how to dive properly, they know how to land properly? So if the person already in the beginning is not warm, you wouldn't want to, right? You say, maybe let's find somebody else. But even though they're a nice person and you don't believe that they can do it, you also wouldn't do it, right? So you need to have this warmth. You need to have the competence, just like a tandem jump when you do skydiving. You see he's warm, and then the person is competent. You are willing to tandem jump. What are the characteristics of this leader, of a person that makes them a good leader? If they're not doing those 4 mistakes, what are the characteristics? So I'm going to share with you the 6 characteristics briefly, and then I'm going to give you a link to a leadership quiz so that you can figure out what type of leader are you, and among these 6 characteristics, which one you can improve, right? And then how you can use this day to day to monitor your team using the right tools, so that even though you're not in front of them, you can still do it and create this bond with your team, okay? So what are the 6 characteristics? Number 1 is decisiveness. So these are the skills that you can create. Decisiveness is, even though you have 2 good choices, to make a decision fast and to commit to it, to be decisive instead of wishy-washy, or instead of being flaky, oh, I don't know, or maybe let's change it back, right? Decisive is, this is what we want to do, okay, let's do it for this specific amount of time, and then we'll see whether we reach it or not, right? So we want that so that people can plan the day. They can trust that tomorrow is going to be predictable, because if it's indecisive, then they don't want to waste their work, right? I did today, oh man, all this work is waste. Now you're going to do and change direction, okay? So we want to be decisive. Number 2 is to have vision. Vision is just the ability to fast forward in your brain and imagine the world a week later, a month later, 6 months later, 5 years later, no matter how long, just to imagine that world in reality, right? Not fantasy, but in reality, you can fast forward. It's like fast forwarding next day. You can imagine logically what's going to happen next day. But people with vision can just imagine a little bit more, maybe 3 days, 10 days, 365 days, right? Whatever it is. So just imagine logically how it's going to be, and then come back to the present, and then demand that the reality becomes real. That's what vision is, right? But before that can happen, the reality needs to be clear first. So that's number 2. Number 3 is modesty. Because leaders have a little bit more experience, a little bit more vision, a little bit more decisive, things can happen fast for them, right? They can make things happen. And this ability to make things happen will increase confidence. And this increase of confidence, sometimes modesty is not, at the top priority. So you want to build this modesty, because because we can create better results, just because we can see a little bit further, it doesn't mean that we're better human beings, right? It's just those skills are better. That's it. So we want to create another skill that's modest, because if we are not modest, what's the opposite of modest is cockiness, right? Then cockiness is not warmth. So new team members will have a harder time to follow you, because the first hurdle, warmth, is not there. Okay, so modesty is number 3. Number 4 is competence. Competence, we've mentioned earlier, is the ability to create results. You know what you're doing. You have the knowledge. Okay. Number 5 is integrity. Integrity basically is keeping your word, doing what you say you're going to do, being honest, because this relates to warmth and trust as well. You don't think a person is warm if they are, untruthful, right? They break promises with you. That's not what's considered warm. And finally, is persistence. This skill of persistence, even when things are hard, even when it's a grind day to day, right? Morning huddles, evening huddles, managing that every single day, going through the same reports again and again every week, is persistence. Because the team needs to know that if they fail to do something, that they can rely on this leader to be able to do it, right? People who are just getting into the groove, who are just learning, are afraid to let everybody else down. So if they believe that even if they did fail, that somebody can support them and still be persistent, and even if they fall off the wagon, they can catch back and get back on the wagon and get back on track, right? But if the leader themselves are not persistent, then everything just falls down. Okay, so those are the 6 things. Number 1, decisiveness. Number 2, vision. Number 3, modesty. 4, competence. 5, integrity. 6, persistence. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a link to a quiz. Figure out what type of leader you are, and see which part of the 6 that you can improve to become a better leader. So another challenge today is, now that you have all these skills and you're getting people to follow you, being online is another challenge. So you want to have tools to be able to monitor and manage and see how you can support your team members every day, simply, in an easy way. So if you are using WhatsApp, So if you are using WhatsApp, this is one of the most challenging things, right? You got to balance the tools, which is WhatsApp, maybe emails, other messaging. At the same time, you have to do all your other work. So if you want, we have our Yes Hello tool. It's a platform that you can have team collaboration, you can have multi-channel, you can streamline your WhatsApp customer service, WhatsApp sales, and monitoring, and being able to be that type of leader online when even you're not face-to-face becomes super easy, right? So I'm going to show you what that looks like quickly right now. So if you land in our Yes Hello platform, you can monitor team members and collaborate with them right here in the dashboard. Okay, so what we want to see is just focus on this middle two columns. So these are all the unassigned contacts, some from email, some from Instagram direct message, some WhatsApp. So you can connect many channels. And I can go in and monitor and take a look at each one, right? So for example, let's see Noel. Noel sent an email. So let's see what it's about. He says, so let's open the original email. So I can see what the conversation is about. Okay. So it's just one email. Let's see what about this person. This is in a WhatsApp conversation. And I can take a look at what conversations they are having. Oh, it's a chat with someone. Hi, Taylor. Yeah, all right. So Silma is talking to someone. So I can read, right? Read what they're saying. Monitor. And if I want to chat with them, I want to chat with my team member, for example, right? With Silma. Then I can go click on comment, and then I can tag Silma, at Silma. And by tagging Silma and commenting, I'll be chatting with her in this specific client conversation, and the client won't be able to see it, right? So I can be the leader I want. I can be the supervisor I want. I can help coach them. I can help them give support, right? I can even take over this conversation in a way that is super simple. So imagine this is one conversation. I can do it with every single conversation. Okay. So if I go to the admin right here, so the person who's handling admin is Siti, I can go in and take over all three if I want to support her, right? If I will go to customer success has, there's 0 conversation here. Maybe, let's go and see this. Let's open. So Alta is managing 3 right now. I can go in and monitor and see what's going on, and I can either take over the conversation or I can comment and speak to Alta about this, right? So all those things that I mentioned about being decisive, about being warm, we are having vision, giving credit where credit is due, be modest, right? Having integrity. So all those things you can now do. This one here that I mentioned, right? You can now do online even when your team is not next to you, right? So you want to have the right tools so that all those things, the characteristics of a leader, you can be that with your team day to day and not have the tools be in the way. Okay, so I'm just going to end it here today. I'll do a quick recap. So what we want to remember is that being a leader is like skydiving, right? Your tandem skydiving, your team needs to rely on you, that you are warm, that you have good intentions towards them, that you are competent to do something about it, and then that you don't do those 4 big mistakes of decision monopoly, of not being able to build trust, being a narcissist, or and final one is to do things because just to impress others, right? We don't want that. We want the 6 characteristics of a great leader, which is number 1, being decisive, number 2, vision, 3, modesty, 4, competence, 5, integrity, and number 6 is persistence. So I've also shared with you guys a link to a quiz to figure out who, what type of leader you are. And then I've also shared with you a tool, which is Yes Hello, so that you can implement this day to day. Even though if you're a great leader, if you're not able to show it to your team members, it's no use as well, right? So tools is also another big one. Okay, so what I would like you to do is, number one, download the worksheet with all this information. Number two is to take the leadership quiz so that you can figure out what kind of leader you are. And then number three, based on your stars, see which part you want to improve first so that you can create better results with your team. All right. So today is a little bit of a long one because I think today is an important one. We're going to go deep into who you are specifically as a team leader. So next, we're going to talk about putting all the knowledge that you have and what your team has into one place so that you can collaborate as a team. All right. So that's it for today. My name is Khalif. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great Ramadan. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.